And out of Tallahassee, where Governor Ron Desantis wants the Florida legislature to reverse gun-related laws that were passed after the massacre at Stoneman Douglas High.
Gun dealers are watching this. Those families absolutely watching this because those gun laws are actually born of the Parkland shooting. And now the governor is outright asking lawmakers to redo them.
Look back in instances where legislation may have been passed in recent years.
And he named specific examples, lowering back to 18 the age to buy a long gun, redoing red flag laws that courts have used 15,000 times to temporarily take weapons from people who pose immediate danger. Both were part of the landmark and unprecedented Marjory Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Act, passed with the families in March 2018, weeks after the school massacre, by a deeply conservative legislature and then Governor Rick Scott.
Florida moves to restore gun rights to young adults. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. If you like channel, like content, what I do, you can support me with the link. Everything's appreciated. Online store is open. CGB20 will get you 20% off. Free shipping. Connecticut residents, got to pay the 6%. Can't help that, but CGB20 will get you 20% off. Let's talk about this. And this is interesting news because this is the fourth year in a row that the Florida legislature has tried to reverse a law that was put in place after the Stoneman Douglas school shooting. The legislation that was pushed forward after that shooting was to restrict 18 to 20-year-olds from buying rifles and shotguns, and also to increase red flag laws. This was just a gut reaction to what happened that day, but it ignores all the other circumstances around that shooting. The shooter was known to police.
We have uncovered at the Broward Sheriff's Office that we've had approximately 20 calls for service over the last few years regarding the killer.
They had interacted with him multiple times. They were warned several times that this kid was off, and they talked about
Breaking news of the investigation into the Florida school massacre. Tonight, CNN is learning new details of an explicit warning the FBI received about the gunman, Nicholas Cruz. CNN's Brian Todd is working the story for us. Brian, this was a warning that potentially could have saved lives.
It could have, Wolf, and the fact that this tip was not passed along to the FBI's Miami field office is just devastating to the victims' families. The woman who called the FBI seemed to know Nicholas Cruz well and seemed to predict with chilling accuracy what he would do.
CNN has reviewed a transcript of a call the FBI received in January of this year, warning that Nicholas Cruz could become a school shooter. I know he's going to explode, the caller, who appears to know Cruz well, tells the FBI tip line. Quote, I just think about, getting into a school and just shooting the place up. The caller tells the FBI, quote, he had pulled a rifle on his mother and says, quote, on the Instagram, he says, I want to kill people.
and said, you need to go check the kid out. They did nothing. On the day of the shooting, you had a school resource officer who stood outside and refused to enter the building.
The South Florida deputy who did not enter Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School the day of the deadly Parkland shooting has now been arrested. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement just announced the arrest of Scott Peterson. Here's video from that day on February 14th, 2018. The video shows Deputy Peterson, who was armed at the time, standing outside. Investigators say he did nothing to stop the killings. He is now facing 7 counts of neglect of a child, 3 counts of culpable negligence, and 1 count of perjury. And the Brevard Sheriff says he has officially terminated Peterson.
If you remember, he was actually charged in a kind of a dereliction of duty case, and he was found not guilty. But the reaction was, of course, with all of these school shootings, is to pass gun laws that only the law-abiding will follow. But the Florida House Judiciary has voted on December 2nd to reverse at least the portion of the law where 18 and 20-year-olds will have their gun rights restored. This is a good thing because, once again, you're punishing everyone for the behavior of the few. They tell us every single time when there's a terrorist act, don't blame all people of that particular group for this actions of one or two. But when it comes to guns, any shooting is perfect fodder and perfect foundation for gun control. Kind of funny how that works. But this is House Bill 133 and is sponsored by House Majority Leader Tyler Suros, and it would lower the minimum age for purchasing long guns from 21 back to 18. Now, like I said, this is the fourth year they've been trying to do this. The measure now has the full House consideration in the 2026 legislative session. Of course, you're going to get both sides. The anti-gunner is going to say this is going to be dangerous to our community and society and public safety, blah, blah, blah. And the pro-gun side saying this was a violation of the Constitution. You're telling 18 and 20-year-olds that their rights under the Constitution come with provisions that are decided by others. That's not how the Constitution works. You can send an 18 or 20-year-old out to die in combat. They should be allowed to buy a gun. Of course, there have to be, there got to be safeguards. That's fine. But this was just way out of control. Because in the end, these restrictions still would not have stopped this person from doing what they did. And this is where the problem always lies. They never address the root causes of these things. It's always about the firearm. Now, what's very interesting and kind of contradictory, 18 to 20-year-olds can't go into a store and buy a gun, but they can receive one as a gift from somebody, which really just makes this law convoluted and negates the whole purpose of it. So it has left the judiciary. It's going to go before the House in the 2026 session. We'll see how this plays out, because if you remember, the law that went into place after the shooting in Florida was Republican-backed. It was pushed through Republicans, and Desantis actually came out and said, we should reverse this whole thing. So he is possibly in favor of signing off on this when it comes to his desk, or if it comes to his desk. So that's always a positive, because he did say pointedly that he thought it was an ill-conceived law and it should be reversed. But once again, if you can send an 18-year-old off into war to die, they should be allowed to buy a gun. It's ridiculous. Should there be guardrails? Yes. But once again, this law went too far. It went too far, and it was nothing more than a knee-jerk reaction, like all the other gun control laws before them, over a situation that, once again, if they'd have been paying attention right from the beginning and followed through, they could have prevented. There have been plenty recently of attempted shootings that were stopped before they even started. So this can be done. We gotta be more proactive. But being proactive doesn't mean curtailing the rights of individuals in this notion that you're gonna somehow make people safer. Let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time video goes live. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.